Okay, awesome. So we are live.
There we go.
Awesome.
Live on Facebook.
Hi, great evening, everyone. We do apologize for the delay, but we thank you for tuning in today on World Mental Health Day, our edition of Student Wellbeing. I am Dosha Charles. I am the founder of Survival Scholars, and I am joined today by an amazing panelist. I am moderating this session with my co-moderator, Savon Philip. He is our president of Survival Scholars Society, the UWI chapter. Welcome, everyone. I would invite Sav to give the introductions to our panelists, and I would continue from there. Let me make sure that we're streaming.
Sure. We have a lovely panel of guests here. First off, we have Miss Emily Annabakkan. Say hi, Emily.
Hi, everyone.
To make this not too long, she's, one second, right. She got graduated with an honors in psychology from UWI. She's the founder of the Psychological Support and Guidance Experience, or PSG. She had a burning passion to help others suffering from psychological health issues, which is actually commendable. She also loves giving back to the community, as she has been involved in various voluntary activities and represented numerous associations and organizations, including the Student Psychology Association, the Public Communications, Public Communication Marketing Officer. My brain did not want to go to that one, I am sorry. Let's see, PSI CHI. Let's see, a Counselling Association, headquarters of UWI, the Student Veterinarian Medicine Executives Club, and so much more. She's also a commendable ChildLine ambassador. Then, the next speaker, we will have Cherise Shalom. She is a mental nurse for the past 13 years and a holder of a bachelor's degree in social work and various professional certificates. All that show her passion to help with any mental health issues. She is a well-known philanthropist or humanitarian at heart, and she as well loves to give back to the community. And presently attached to the training department of the NCRA3, or North Central Regional Health Association, where she facilitates in-person and online psychological training for staff, students, schools, and communities within North Central Attachment area. Right. The next up, we have Vikisha Graham. Vikisha Graham is a professional employed in the Ministry of National Security in research, monitoring, and evaluations. She's also a certified life coach, trained in social and emotional first aid. She has a bachelor's degree in behavioral sciences and a master's degree in criminology. Both received at Kingston University in London. Currently, she is completing another master's degree in counseling psychology, multiple degrees, wow. She's aware of the expectations placed on students to do better and better, and can identify with the mental stresses of academic life, as known from her various degrees. She has learned to push through pushed through obstacles, and she remains passionate about becoming all of whom God wants her to be. Then we have Scott Matchak.
Sal, would you like me to introduce you
Take over here?
later? Yeah?
Sure.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so very much, Sal. And now we have Scott Matchak. He is a psychology undergraduate of the University of the West Indies. His future research interests lie within the intersection of mental health, gender, and sexual identity. He is also the president of PSI CHI at the UWI St. Augustine Chapter, University of the West Indies. Next, we have Miss Emily Bashan. And Miss Emily, of course, has a very, very elaborate bio. Miss Emily Anna Bashan is an innovative Master's Mediation Studies candidate. She has graduated with a Bachelor's in Psychology Special with honors from the University of the West Indies. She is the founder of the Psychology Support and Guidance Enterprise, PSGE. She has a burning passion to help others suffering from psychological health issues. Also, she loves giving back to the community as she has been involved in various voluntary activities and represented numerous associations and organizations. Some of these organizations include the Student Psychology Association Club, also known as SPA, in the year 2020 to 2021, where she held the position of former president, public relations officer, and public communications marketing officer. PSI CHI International Honor Society in Psychology UWI Chapter, 2020 to 2021, where she was the former social media manager and the ambassador of public relations officer. Thank you. Additionally, she was a peer counseling associate of the PSA Club 2020 to 2021, where she also held the position of former vice president and marketing director. Additionally, she was involved in the Institute of Gender and Development Studies, including Pride Community, School of Veterinary Medicine, Exotics Club, Health and Fitness Adventure Society, Dance Club, Behavioral Sciences Club, the Trinidad and Tobago Youth Advocacy Network, Mental Health and Gender-Based Violence Ambassador, Youth Visionaries of Trinidad and Tobago, former social media coordinator of the International and External Relations Committee, as well as she is a ChildLine ambassador. She loves nature as well as animals. She is known for her friendly, bubbly, loving, and caring personality. Her favorite color is pink and purple, although she loves adoring herself like a rainbow unicorn. She enjoys lots of hobbies, including singing, dancing, playing musical instruments such as steel pan and guitar, makeup artists, nail technology, hairstyling, art and designing, photography, modeling, fashion, and yoga. So welcome everyone, Emily Bashan. We also have Miss Salma Ali. Miss Salma Ali is a final year student pursuing her bachelor's in psychology, a special with a minor in social policy, whose interest lies in neurodiversity awareness, specifically neurodivergent conditions. Currently, she is active in the following. She is a member of the Peer Counseling Association, Vice President of the Student Psychology Association, and a virtual ambassador for ChildLineTT. And finally, we have Rashida Ramkilawan. She is a final year student of psychology, special with an IR minor, who is passionate about wellness and children's rights and protection. Involved in many clubs, associations, and societies, namely President of the Student Psychology Association, VP of the UWI CHI Club, Public Relations Director of the Peer Counseling Association, VP and Graphic Designer of the UWI Literacy Society, Secretary of the UWI SPA Student Group, Assistant Secretary of the National Affairs Committee, UWI Student Career Facilitator, and has been able to collaborate with external organizations whilst in the capacity of these duties, all with the aim of psychological and Caribbean youth development. She has also volunteered with ChildLineTT as a virtual ambassador and recently volunteered with the MindWise project as a student journalist for their summer 2022 cohort. So welcome all of our amazing panelists. Thank you very, very much for taking the time today to join us, to share with us on mental health and student well-being. Firstly, our first segment for today, we are given valuable information from research, value-based, evidence-based information from each of our panelists. Each will get 5 to 8 minutes, even 10 minutes to share and present. And some would be accompanied with a PowerPoint slide. So we look forward to all the valuable information each and every one of our panelists has to share. Firstly, our first panelist, we have Miss Emily Bachan.
Okay, hi everyone. I hope everybody is doing well. Okay, so thank you so much for that warm welcome, by the way, Dorsha. And it's nice to meet everybody again back here virtually. I'm so happy and excited to be here and to share information and to get to know everybody. And, you know, we are going to observe World Mental Health Day. So I'm going to give you all a little history about World Mental Health Day. So it was observed for the first time on October 10th in 1992, way back then, right? So it was started as an annual activity of the World Federation for Mental Health by the Deputy Secretary General Richard Hunter. Right, so this is the person who actually came about this day and thought, okay, this is an important day that we have to recognize, right? So after it was founded, and this is where it was originated, the day officially commemorated for every year after that on October the 10th, right? That's why we are celebrating it today. So why are we started as an annual activity of general? I'm hearing some noise there. Okay. Right. So why do we celebrate World Mental Health Day? Oh, I guess it really aims to promote mental health advocacy, which is what we are doing right here, educating the public and, you know, focusing on relative issues that plague students, persons of, you know, suffering from any mental health disorder, and whatnot. You know, there are so many different reasons that we would have to look at mental health, and the spectrum is broad. So the first theme that they came up in observing World Mental Health Day was in 1994, right? They had this theme about improving the quality of mental health services throughout the world. So after that, that was the first theme that they ever come up with. You know how we would come up with a theme and we would celebrate it, and you know, we would focus on like a specific topic that is going on in the world and whatnot, right? So they came up with that first theme about improving the quality of mental health, right, and their services, mind you, because as we know, services are very hard and sometimes very hard to attain accessibility at this time, right? And we are trying to promote what is there, what is you know, on the surface for people that could actually go and get the professional help that they need. So within 3 years after that, when they had their first team, this day had become a valuable occasion, right? So it became an interest for the governments, for organizations, and you know, a lot of people that felt the need that, hey, we have to come together and we have to observe this day because you know it is important for every human being's survival, right? So they started to arrange programs and of course, like I keep saying, to focus on specific mental health issues and you know how to get accessibility to the mental health services that they provide, right? So I'm just going to give you a brief types of teams that they looked at back in the 1900s. So they looked at women and mental health, they looked at children and mental health and human rights, and these are things that are very common that we actually look at nowadays, like at present time, right? They even look at mental health and aging, right? So there's so many different types of topics that they could focus on because mental health is everyday life, right? So it's like every aspect of your life contributes to something that would affect you as an individual and impact you, right? So that was some of the themes that they looked at in observing World Mental Health Day back in the 1900s. Now, let me fast forward. Let's say about 2 years ago, or like in 2019, they looked at mental health promotion and suicide prevention, because at that point in time, we see the statistics are growing. We see that, okay, a lot of people are having suicidal ideation, and we thought, okay, we need to start talking about this topic. It is becoming prevalent and we need persons to become more aware and break the stigma and know that it is okay to talk about it, it's okay to have these feelings, right? And you can get help, you are not alone, right? So these are some of the topics and themes that we had over the years, and it's still continuing, right? Because it is very important, every single one of them, right? And I just want to close that this year's theme is mental health in an unequal world. So I leave you with that, and we shall chat further on.
Thank you so much, Emily, for giving us that history and background of World Mental Health, and as well as giving us the theme for today, mental health in an unequal world. So our next speaker will be Miss Vikisha Graham, who will share with us more about social and emotional learning, which is so very important for us to maintain our mental health and well-being.
Thank you so much, Dosha and Emily. Oh, that history was so rich. Thank you so much. You know, through programs like these, education and psycho-education programs alike have the power to change mindsets, you know. We know when we talk about mental health, there is a stigma attached to it. The research has definitely shown that. So what we do at GC SCORE, that's an organization that I work with, and we train in social emotional wellness, we seek to change the narrative, you know. So we try to change the labels and the language. So I'm so excited to present to you today on our social emotional wellness. So let me just share my slides with you as I bring that up.
Great.
I'm sure you're excited as I am. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, So as we look at social emotional wellness for student well-being, these tips that I'm going to share with you and the information is not just for students. You can indeed use this for every sphere of your life, okay? In any situation, matter of fact. So let's go. What is social emotional wellness? But before I go there, I want to ask you how you're doing. So those that are looking on, I have my emo meter, right? We call it the Rumor Time emo meter. You will get to know what the Rumor Time is all about in a bit. But we have 4 levels of emotions, right? We have the very high intensity emotions. So we're looking at if you're furious, if you're feeling hurt, overjoyed, hopeless, shocked. Your medium intensity emotions, if you're frustrated, embarrassed, disgusted, and it's so important that we are able to describe how we feel, right? Especially as we're looking at our mental health. How can we talk about it if we're not in tune with ourselves? Okay, so we're gonna look at our high intensity emotions. Now, are you feeling ecstatic? I mean, for such a program as this, you should be, right? Are you excited as I am? So I'm in the high intensity section there. Or are you feeling lonely? And it's okay. I want you to be honest and I want you to comment in the comment section. How are you feeling? Or you may be in the low intensity part of things, your content, you know, you're just chill, you're happy. You may be worried or you may just be feeling silly. And it's okay to feel that way as well. So what is social emotional wellness? It's a person's ability to recognize, understand, manage, express, and reflect. So we see in that rumor there, right? RUMER, a really nice acronym so you can remember, right? It's the person's ability to recognize, understand, manage, express, and reflect on your thoughts, your interactions, your mindsets, and your emotions as it relates to yourself and others in your situation. Now, remember, we're looking at mental health. So you can see how important this is for your mental health, right? And by using this process that I'm going to go through with you this evening, educates and equips and empowers you, right? Not just you now, but everyone of all ages, any locations, anywhere in the world. Be free to screenshot, share this information, right? To successfully navigate daily activities such as loving, learning, earning, and relationship building, even problem solving, right? As we all adapt to the demands of growth and development. So let me just give you a bit of illustration. We believe in the roots, and we believe that through the roots, fruits are generated, right? So we're looking at our roots and our fruits of social emotional wellness. So in our roots, that is where we actually work with. So I work with you in your self-awareness skills, self-management skills, your social awareness skills, responsible decision-making skills, and relationship management skills. And I'm sure but those of you who may be familiar with certain of these terms, it really speaks to emotional intelligence as well, right? So these roots actually bear fruit to your academic growth, your physical growth, your spiritual growth, cognitive growth, personal, professional, relational, and psychological, okay? So I want you to bear this in mind. Dr. Yvonne Laria, she's the founder of GC Squad. She said, as air is the life, so are social emotional competencies to relationships. They are like the air we breathe. It is necessary, okay? So what are the elements of the rumor time process? So we just look at the rumor, the recognize, the understand, the manage, the express, and the reflect. And you're doing that to your thoughts, your interactions, right? Your mindset and your emotions that you have towards yourself, others, and situation. So you can see how it really takes on not just you on the micro level, but also things that are happening on the macro level as it relates to your relationship with others and your situation. What is your story? What's happening behind you know, your mind. What are you thinking? What are your thoughts? Why are you doing the things that you're doing? And why are you affected by things that others are doing? So it really brings you into self-awareness. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? You're seeing that. So this process is really about reflecting upon a triggering event, right? That you can make a clear-headed assessment of benefits and drawbacks to your involvement with an identifying triggered event. So what I'm saying there, a lot of words, you are looking at that thing that is affecting you, that event, that situation, that thing that revolves in your story that seems to get you happy or sad or whatever your feelings, those feelings that I showed you before, right? And you're reflecting on it. And I'm going to give you some skills, right? I'm going to give you the tools into how you can indeed reflect on it. So the process of rumorizing, it is in reflecting that your social emotional skills are actuated, right? The more you do it, the more it becomes second nature to you. And by practicing these steps daily with any life situation, whether it has to do with self, relationships, or situation, can actually promote your development as you become socially and emotionally competent. And that is the goal. That is where we want to establish our footsteps here. So when we look at our time, I said T is for thoughts, right? I want you to remember that. That acronym time, the T is for your thoughts. Thoughts are your ideas or pictures you have in your mind. Thoughts are at the root of behaviors. I know the cognitive behavioral therapists and those that are along those type of theories and approaches would really love this, right? Your thoughts are at the root of your behaviors, attitude, and emotions. What you think would most likely come out through your behaviors, the attitudes that you have towards others, or the situations in your story. Your thoughts affect how you feel, right? And I know we could just think back on that time when we just feel off or we feel happy, right? And just think about what were you thinking of? Yeah, think of what were you thinking of. So ask yourself, what are you thinking about? And then we have the I, which is for your interactions and behaviors. These are influenced by what you are thinking. So what are some of your behaviors or interactions that you notice since you have started doing this particular thing? You know, so look at it. Look at it. And these are some tools to get you to start to think about beyond World Mental Health Day or Mental Health Month or Mental Health Awareness. But these are everyday things that you can do to ensure that you remain mentally healthy. Okay? And we look at our M, which are our mindsets or attitudes. These are formed as a result of persistent, dominant, and recurring thoughts. So ask yourself, what's been your attitude or mindset during this particular thing, right, that revolves around your story? And your E, it's for your emotions or feelings. Your feelings have no intellect. They are directly controlled by your thinking patterns, right? So think of your brain as this nice field, grass is all over, right? Beautiful. But you have someone that keeps on passing in that same track all the time. They're walking there. Eventually, what you're gonna get? You're gonna get that clear pathway, right? And that's how our brain operates. Once you keep on thinking a particular thought, most of the times we struggle with our negative automatic thoughts. These things we think about ourselves negatively all the time. And what it does, it creates a deeper pathway in our mind. And we need to be so cognizant of these things, right? So ask yourself, so what have you been feeling during these situations, etc.? So as we look at the R in the rumor time, recognize, that's what that R is about, right? You remember that rumor, the recognize, understand, manage. Because we have such a short time, we're gonna look at the recognize and understanding tonight. So the recognize means to see, identify, admit, and acknowledge your thoughts, right? What thoughts have dominated your mind about yourself? Recognize your interactions. Who are the people that have been supportive or non-supportive to you in your story? Be able to know who are those persons around you? Who is my support system? Who can I go to? Recognize your mindset. What is your general mindset about yourself in the story? Your emotions. Identify, admit, and acknowledge your emotions. Describe the emotions which you have experienced to be the most pervasive or common in your story. And I know, as easy as this may sound, this can be quite challenging because some of us don't like to take the time to admit or to even identify these things that we go through. We get so comfortable in the dysfunction. We learn to function in the dysfunction. But tonight we want to change that, right? We want to change that. As we go on to understanding our time, understand means to dig deeper, get to the root of it, right? We want to live in awareness. We want to call those things into our mind. We want to be able to understand our thoughts. What do you know about the beginnings of your story? I want you to go back. I want you to understand your interactions. Do you understand how it affects your relationship? Why does this particular thing that I do or how I feel or what I may say affects the way I relate to that other person? Understand your mindsets. What do you think about people with this problem? That will essentially reflect to you why you think the way that you do, okay? And understand your emotions. Do you understand the feelings that are associated with your situation? So it really brings you into that place of thinking about and giving your mental health that space to grow, okay? So as I close up, I mean, I shared with you a lot of information. I get it. But I want you to tell me how you're feeling now that we covered so much. Are you excited? Where are you on this emo meter now? Are you experiencing still very high intensity emotions? What about the medium intensity? What about high intensity? Are you excited and ecstatic about this information that you have just received? And what about your low intensity? So how are you feeling? Okay, so be sure to drop that in the comments. And of course, I want to say thank you. And if you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to me. This is my email, vikishagcoaching@gmail.com. This is my number. You can also contact me, WhatsApp me. You can visit my Facebook, Vikisha G Coaching, my Instagram page. I am Vikisha_G, and also GC Squad Instagram page. You can also visit the Listening Oasis Wellness Space.com. So you see that www.listeningoasiswellness.com. It's a free site where we offer social emotional support to anyone of all ages around the world. If you're looking for someone just to chat with, to talk to help you process situations, and you want that private and confidential space, this is where you should be. The Listening Oasis Wellness. Right? And it's a free service, and you can also WhatsApp us at 574-514-5506. So be sure to just, screenshot the screen and get on to us. We look forward to working with you. Dosha, thank you so much for this opportunity.
Wow, thank you so very much, Vikisha, for that elaborate information that you shared. That was so valuable and had so much for us to learn and take away from it. I really love the activity of showing different emotions so that we as well in the process can become self-aware. And I would also like to say that Vikisha is an amazing coach from experience, of course. So definitely do get in contact with her and do take the free services that they offer. Yeah. So our next panelist speaker, we have Miss Reseda Ramkilawan.
Pleasant good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me here. It's an honor to be here as representing the UWI Student Psychology Association. I will be touching on myths versus facts of mental health. So what I will do, I will mention the myth and then I'll go on to the facts, right? So let's see. But before I get started, I want you all to know that despite whatever myths you'll be hearing, don't let it persuade, or should I say dissuade you from not talking about your problems. Let me make that clear first. So the first myth they have now, they tell you that you aren't trying hard enough when you slip up or make mistakes. That is not true. If you are the person you know that you have been coping and that you may be making mistakes, or the habits you want to form aren't nearly there yet, and you find yourself slipping, or what we may say have a relapse, that is perfectly okay. If you stumble when you're trying to stick to these healthy coping strategies, it is part of the process, so don't be too hard on yourself. What would be concerning is if you continuously were trying to perfect whatever strategy you were using. That would be concerning because you're putting undue pressure onto yourself, and that would actually make us worry and be like, what is going on? So it's okay. It's human to make the mistakes, to have the relapse. Once you keep trying, that is what is important. Another myth they have, mental challenges means that, as the Chinese would like to say, you're weak-willed, you're abnormal, unintelligent, you're mad. None of that. That is not true. Mental health challenges means that you have maybe unresolved trauma that you've carried with you from childhood into adolescence. And now is the time where you need to ask for assistance in managing your stressors or overcoming those obstacles. And also, having a diagnosis gives you some clarity, some feeling of control over yourself. You a better understanding of yourself, like, okay, this is where I'm at, this is what is wrong, and now I know how to move forward. So there's nothing wrong in acknowledging that you may be struggling with a mental health challenge. Another myth now. So for those of you who have come across psychologists and you have been referred to, let's say, a psychiatrist, you may have been prescribed medications to help you through your mental health challenges. Let's say it could be insomnia, it could be depression. A common myth we have against these people is that they may be addicted to the medication and that makes them weak. That isn't the case. These medications help to moderate your mood, help to regulate your mood. So if you have depression, if you have insomnia, these actually help you a lot. So don't go by what people say and who haven't tried it out or who don't know the facts. Stick to the professionals and their advice. Another myth, if your mental health is good, you should not talk to anyone or practice coping strategies. I don't know who came up with this, but that is not true. Everyone needs to have good mental health and practice these strategies, regardless if you're in a good place or not. Try it. And this leads me to an important point about boundaries. When I mean boundaries, I mean setting limits to yourself when how you deal with persons or situations that could probably, cause an emotional response or a behavior that you wouldn't like. So identifying these things, having strategies in place, these help you through these situations, regardless if you're in a good place or not. These are important, and I urge you all to practice them and try them. Maybe after this session, I can relay some to you all as well. And finally, for my last myth, they say you don't need to talk to anyone or ask for help. No, that's a big stigma, especially in the Caribbean society where they say you shouldn't be asking for that, but people would say that is not good. It's not about others, it's about yourself. Asking for help or talking it out with a trusted person actually makes a significant difference. It reminds you that you aren't as alone as you feel, and advice from a professional does more good than you'd expect. A common thing these professionals would tell you is that professionals themselves or students in this field, we all have been through that, where you may have been hesitant to go and ask for help, but as you finally get that help, you realize, why didn't I do this sooner? There are people who go through years without asking for help, 20 years more, until they finally decide to ask for the help. And guess what? They feel relieved. It's like a burden off their shoulders once they get this help. So please, please find the resources, contact these people. They know what they are doing, and they will tell you one bit of advice. And Ms. Graham alluded to it already. What you feel sometimes may not be factual, right? And these professionals will help you on that journey to walk you through why what you feel may not always be factual, and to help you realize that you may be ruminating, you may just be worried, and help you to see better ways to deal with it. Thank you all so much for your time, and be sure to check out the resources that are coming up soon.
Wow, I really loved those facts and myths that you shared. Those are very actual prominent myths that we hear, and I'm really glad that you debunked them with the facts, because facts are what matters most. Up next, we have Scott, who will be sharing with us today.
Hi everyone, I just want to make sure, can everyone hear me? Yeah, okay, great. So thank you, Reseda. Thank you to everyone who's presented so far. I don't have something as structured as everyone else, but that's okay. I just wanted to, I guess, talk a little bit about my views and perspectives on mental health, and particularly thinking about how the theme of this year's mental health, World Mental Health Day is around mental health in an unequal world. And I think, I mean, there's no wonder like why that's the theme this year. I mean, when we think about the context of the pandemic, we can really see how certain inequities and inequalities have intensified during this time and also have become very visible. So moving forward, I guess, in our discussion, I would just like to keep this in the forefront of our mind, you know, and thinking about how these inequalities have really had implications for our mental well-being, thinking about how, you know, rates of developing a psychopathology have increased during this time, suicide rates have increased during this time as well. You know, just overall, our mental health is in a state that is declining because of these inequalities. And also thinking about how these inequalities are intersectional with our identities and really looking at it through a model of sustainable development that, you know, provides justice to all, particularly disadvantaged people based on various identities and how these various identities compound. So thinking about, of course, my future research interests, I would really love to focus on mental health in relation to our gender and sexual identity. And, you know, that is a key, or not key, but I think an important group of people to look at, particularly in the Caribbean, because LGBT persons are also very much discriminated against. There's a certain amount of prejudice that also increases the likelihood of them becoming, you know, having or experiencing more psychological distress. And then it's not just only our gender expression or sexual orientation, but also thinking about things like how our ethnicity, our different socioeconomic backgrounds, things like that, also compound to create even more psychological distresses for us. And not inherently holding those identities create psychological distress, but the prejudice that exists around those things and the hierarchies that we put our identities on. And also thinking about how, you know, those implications for mental health also have implications for our physical health as well. When we think about mental health, we don't typically think of it as having implications for the physical, for the body, but I mean, there are countless studies that really show that there is such an intimate connection when we think about the mind and even just like the immune system. I mean, persons who experience more stress are more likely to catch a cold, right? And that is based on real science. So, and I think that's an important thing to note too, in terms, again, relating this back to sustainable development and focusing on human development in particular. I think if that's something that we keep advocating for and putting a focus on that in terms of physical health, people and you know, how we think about policy making and governance might actually try to make more of an effort to create more sustainable environments for our mental health as well. And I'm also thinking about, you know, within the Caribbean, there are a number of barriers that exist towards us getting the help that we need. And one of them is because of the stigma that does exist surrounding mental health. And also, how do these inequities that exist prevent us from getting the help that we need? Whether it is because it's physically inaccessible to get to the places that do offer these services, whether it is too expensive for some of us, whether it is that we feel so much shame and guilt around asking for help. And that's something that Reseda did bring up. And I think that something to note as well in that regard is how powerful and how often shame and guilt police the ways that we think and our bodies as well. And I think that when we begin to start educating ourselves about our mental health, and also the services, the mental health services that are available to us, and we learn to take advantage of those services, and also just doing the things that we know that we need for our own minds and our bodies, that is really taking the first step towards nurturing your mental health. And then I think the last thing that I just wanted to bring up is thinking about how we all have a responsibility, particularly a lot of us here who are involved in mental health service provision. You know, thinking about mental health in terms of calling on our governments, calling on private corporations to really take into consideration mental health as a very important factor in terms of development and sustainable development as well, and really asking them to consider using the tool of intersectionality to provide justice for disadvantaged groups. And I think for now, I've rambled enough, so I will just stop there, and hopefully we can kind of dissect this a little more as we go into the discussion. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marchak, for sharing, especially speaking about intersectionality and how it really affects us regarding to mental health and wellness as it relates to gender as well. Up next, we will have Ms. Salma Ali with us.
Hi, good night, everyone. Thank you all for having me. It's been a very rich and enlightening conversation thus far. And I hope I don't put you all to sleep because I've been presenting on our mental health resources in UWI, our society, UWI, and in our greater society, Trinidad and Tobago. So please bear with me. All right. And we'll just jump into it. Right, so I'm here today representing the Peer Counseling Association, PCA. Peer Counseling is comprised of a team of UWI students dedicated to the well-being of students on campus by providing peer-to-peer interactive counsel. The Peer Counseling Association is comprised of a team of UWI students trained by our UWI Counseling and Psychological Services, headed by Ms. Sarah Chinyunki. And we are dedicated to the well-being of all students on campus by providing peer-to-peer interactive counseling and support. Our peer counselors are expected to have covered the COCR 1033 Mind the Gap, which is again instructed by Ms. Sarah Chinyunki. And over that time, we'll learn different methods of under like stress and handling conflict and how to guide. We are obviously students, and we are here to provide, you know, we have that similarity as students. We're in the system, we're all going through something similar. So sometimes it's good to just hear what everybody's going through, you know. We're not diagnosing anyone. So, and, you know, this is what the counseling and psychological services are for, CAPS. So again, Ms. Sarah Chinyunki, she is the head of the department, and they're committed to helping our students to maintain good mental health and wellness. They provide free and confidential support services. For example, virtual walk-ins, which take place every Thursday from 1 to 4 p.m. It'll be a short, critical, if you have like really pressing matters, you know, I would like, you know, well, push you all to go and, you know, take advantage of the walk-ins. And if you want a full session, a full hour session, they provide appointments via email, the counsel@sta.uw.edu, and you will get an appointment every 2 to 3 weeks, give or take. They are very fulfilling. I'm currently seeing a counselor at UWI, and honestly, I look forward to it. I really do. So, yeah. Now I like us to change our lens to Trinidad and Tobago and ChildLine has been doing a lot for us, a lot for our children, our adolescents, and even our young adults. It is a non-governmental organization that looks after the protection and well-being of children and young persons. Their services and programs, they have a 24-hour hotline, number 800-4321. They have a live web chat where you could go on and via text and ask for a counselor or just to be heard. The ChildLine app was launched earlier this year. It has many features such as a journal, mood tracker. There you could access the helpline, the live web chat as well, telecounseling. You could request a counselor. They have, yes, counselors. And you could also, they started back the in-person counseling sessions. So you could check out here's contact information, ChildLineTT.org. They have their forms to be filled out for the in-person counseling. And the Instagram, they're very active on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And yeah, they have a lot going on. FindCareTT has been brought to my attention recently. I was activated in response to the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, where a lot, it was ignited by NGOs, specifically Mindwise, where numerous mental health services have come together to provide a directory where you could access different services from Children's Authority, ChildLine, etc., etc. So I highly recommend you all check out their services, from mental health services, counseling, addiction services, child and adolescent support services. It is very thorough and very, very thorough. So, and finally, the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Psychologists. I don't know if all my fellow psychology majors and specials are aware of this. Their association, a professional organization representing the psychologists of Trinidad and Tobago. I specifically wanted to bring, shed light on the directory that they have, because there is psychologists all over Trinidad, and you are able to search by a specific distinction. Say you want to see a clinical, a child, organizational psychologist, and it's very thorough, from Trinidad, Tobago psychologists in Tobago. And I've had the luxury of, contacting some of these psychologists, and they've been amazing thus far. So, and finally, I wanted to shed some light on, our societies in Trinidad, Autistic Society, ADHD Society, and then again, Children's Authority, which works in tandem with ChildLine and these previous organizations I've mentioned. Autistic Society has helped me a lot. I have an autistic relative, and they answer their emails and calls. So if you want, and also a lot of workshops, if you want to just bring more awareness to autism, or educate yourself on what the autistic spectrum is, check them out, and the ADHD Society as well, as another neurodivergent disorder. They have workshops as well, and I've had the luxury of speaking to their head, and she has been very informative as well. So that's it for me. I hope that I brought awareness to certain organizations, or renew their knowledge or awareness of these organizations, because as citizens, it's there for you to take advantage of it. It's there for you. So whether you find a psychologist or a counselor at UWI, and you think that person isn't working for you, you can always change. You can always ask for someone else. There's so many resources out there. So thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Salma, for sharing that rich resource of different organizations that we can obtain the necessary help from. Because sometimes when we're going through tough times, we don't know who to turn to. We are unsure of who we can trust. And I really appreciate you sharing that valuable resource and bringing that awareness to show that there are many organizations that are here to support and help us. Up next, we have Ms. Cherise Shalom. who is a registered mental health nurse.
Hi, everyone, and thanks once again, Doshan, survivors, scholars, and of course, all the information that I would have received so far. Of course, it's so interesting, you could never have enough information about mental health, and I really appreciate all of the presentations we would have had so far. Right, so World Mental Health Day 2021. Right, and of course, thank you so much, Emily, for giving us that history, because for the past 13 years that I would have been in nursing, of course, being acknowledging Mental Health Day every year, I would not have gone back so far. So thanks so much for giving that information. I really appreciate it. So right, so what I'm going to talk about, one of the most important areas that we can talk about when we are talking about mental health is the area of stress management. I mean, we can all go into the different disorders and the things that I would have seen in the clinical area. We have the anxiety, the depression. Of course, I know we mentioned suicide and self-harm. Those things are predominant and we see it a lot. Of course, I would have seen it a lot when I worked on the clinical area. And of course, as I would visit there ever so often. And we want to really talk about stress, right? We want to know how to manage stress. And the first thing I have up is a little picture I like to start with. And of course, I'm hoping to have some persons unmute their mics, probably raise their hand and unmute their mics. And tell me, when you look at this picture, what do you see? So, right, so I may need either Dosha or the other moderator, I can't recall his name right now, I'm sorry, to tell me whose hand is raised, and of course I can call on them, and they can give me their opinion on what they are seeing here in this picture. We have somebody lying here on the floor, and we have another person who's holding up the word stress. When you look at this, what do you see? I see Salma is smiling. It looks like Salma she wants to say something. And nothing is too silly, right? We are here to learn. We're learning from each other. There's no question that is too silly. There's no comment that is too silly. So at least if I can get at least 2 response, that will be excellent. Okay, I'm seeing Vikisha has her hand up. Yes.
Hi, Vikisha Graham here.
Vikisha,
I see a possible crime scene. I see here where stress can indeed kill that person that is underneath stress, and someone is really trying to keep that away from him.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much, Ms. Graham. Thank you so much. All right, can I have at least one more response to what might be going on here in this picture? We have Ms. Graham saying it's a crime scene. I'm seeing McKellar.
Yes.
Hotline.
Hi.
Hi.
I see someone like helping out someone else, like they have a burden of stress and it seems like it's kind of killing them, so maybe their friend or something is trying to help like relieve that or lift the load off their shoulders.
Okay, very good, thank you so much. I see that Scott also has a perspective here. Let me hear what Scott has.
Yeah, I just wanted to say really quickly what comes to mind is, us psych students, we know that we learn about the idea of eustress, good stress, right? And then you have distress, right? And that's what comes up for me. And I also think about the idea of how important it is to have psychosocial supports, somebody to help you relieve that stress as well. So that's all I wanted to say.
All right, thanks so much. So thanks. I mean, of course, all the perspectives that was given is correct. And before I get into some of the others that I would have had here, the most important thing that we need to recognize about stress is that, of course, we would have heard from Scott and Miss Graham and Miss Hossain, and they all had a different perspective about stress. So we have to understand when we hear the word stress, we have to understand firstly that everyone perceives stress differently. And obviously, as what was said by some person, something that would have killed one person is the other person is well able to carry it. And of course, I know Ms. Hossain would have said, of course, one of the examples that I have here, stress would have obviously become so overwhelming for one person, knock them down. And of course, we have somebody who is well able to carry it, maybe a friend, right? Hence the reason why I can't remember which presenter would have said it, the importance of us reaching out to others, especially during high stress time. Another perspective that we can have here is that the person who is carrying the stress, of course, yes, it may be heavy for that person, but you know what? When you carry a stressful situation and you would have overcome that stressful situation, you would have built resilience, right? So the person who is carrying it is also building resilience, right? So those are just some perspectives that we can have about stress, and we also really understand that stress affects all of us differently. And from, of course, as I would have mentioned, from my encounter with the many persons who that would have passed through the inpatient unit in Eric Williams, that's the department under Professor Jared Hutchinson, we would have seen that stress was the culprit. Stress is always the culprit. So if we want to manage our mental health, we have to learn how to manage our stress, right? And what is stress? We use the word so loosely all the time, right? And of course, I would have developed this for the students and of course the facilitators who are here as well. Of course, the information is pertinent for everyone, right? Stress is the body's reaction to an environmental threat or demand, right? An environmental threat or environmental stressor. So anything within your environment that you perceive to be stressful, it is stressful for you. Remember, I would have said that one thing that might be stressful for one person would not be stressful for another. So if somebody may have had a relationship that went wrong, and somebody might say, well, you know what, I had a relationship that went wrong and I got over it. But of course, what you know, you're made up differently. So what would have affected you may not affect the other person in the same way, and vice versa. That person may become suicidal, may become really depressed because of that, right? So it's whatever that stressor is or that demand, that is what is considered stress, right? And it affects how our body reacts. I know Ms. Graham would have spoken about our thoughts and our feelings. So that's what stress does. Stress affects the way that we think, and it affects the way that we feel. Right? I think my next slide is on what are some of the things that affect students. What are some things? I mean, of course, all of us here, of course, we are students. We're all continuing on that learning curve from what I'm hearing here. And even some of the persons who are in the audience, what are some of the things that causes you stress? You can, of course, raise your hand. You can unmute your mic, and let's hear some of the things as a student. What really causes you stress? And even apart from being a student, what are some things that are causing you stress right about now? I can at least get to respond.
We have Bashish Panti.
Hi.
Yeah, hi, good evening. One of the major things that causes me stress is the fact that I'm going through this degree of psychology to, you know, enter a economy that's, you know, a society that thinks mental health is taboo, that believes that these things that we go through, oh, they will hit you don't have to be so, you know, just relax yourself, go take a walk. You see that kind of thing, I can't handle them kind of thing. That will stress me out so much to finish a degree, to think about people's mental health, to think about my classmates and my family's mental health, for people to come and say, hey, well, you know, you don't want to be here soon. No. That will stress me. That will send me on a different kind of level. That really.
Yeah, I can understand that. But think about it. I think we are, at least persons who have chosen this pathway, I think we are just on the ball, because, you know, of course, I know from, you know, back then when I would have chosen to do psychiatric nursing back then, you know, it was told, why are you going to do psychiatric nursing? That is not a real type of nursing. And it was really, really strongly, it still has a stigma, but because of COVID-19, somehow psychology and mental health has now become at the forefront. So let's live in hope that of course we may have better days ahead, but of course I hear you on that. That is something that can really cause us some major stress, right? Do we have any other response? What is really stressing you right now?
We have some responses in the chat. We have, let's see, we have the uncertainty of the times. I feel that one.
Right.
We have assignments. Oh, I definitely feel that one. We have taxes. I had that one yet. And someone else saying the budget.
Projects, right? So we have those things that are causing major. How come I hear anybody talk about one of the major stresses that, I mean, something that definitely stressing me out, which is COVID-19. I mean, that is one of the major stresses right now, and I would have assumed, right, I would have been #1 for some persons calling it out in the list, right? But let's look at some other things that causes students stress, right? I would have mentioned COVID-19, and from my interaction with some of the students, especially when they were exclusively doing online classes, right? I know Form 4 and I think Form 4, 5, and 6 are out right now, but that online classes was really stressing persons. And of course, this whole pandemic, when we were, of course, when the place was locked down, you know, a little bit more, that was causing a major amount of stress. It is still causing a major amount of stress for persons, and it is affecting their mental health, right? We still have peer pressure happening, right? Of course, we have persons not being able to interact as before, but it's still very prominent. And as somebody would have said, that academic pressure, right? I mean, of course, the lecturers might think, okay, you're at home now, you're doing online classes, you're supposed to be able to have more time, but the workload is still heavy, and you have those expectations, those projects. Whew. Another thing that I wanted to go back to when I had the diagram up a short while ago, it made me think about when I was doing my I can't remember which course I was doing, and we had a lot of group projects, and we had some persons carrying the load of the group project while some other persons just, you know, lay back and wait until you do most of the work, and then they will push in a little part, and you realize some plagiarism take place there, but we won't get into that. But that causes you a great deal of stress as well. And then we have the parental stress, because guess what? Mommy and daddy, or mommy or daddy, or whoever is your guardian or your sibling or your whomever, they are expecting, they know that you are not going to the mall as you used to. You don't have the things to distract you and spending time going to the beach and things that we usually like to do. So they are expecting better grades. So they don't want to see any C and D and stuff like that. They have their expectations. They are paying for, our laptops and these different devices, and they're expecting us to do well. So that is a stressor as well. And if we really want to be real, dating and relationships is a major stressor, before you go, get to go your little lines, whether it be Avenue or wherever, and of course you'll be able to meet persons. I know that love and relationships, getting into dating is very stressful. I know it's happening online, but of course nothing beats, of course, meeting somebody in person, right? We have lack of sleep. And of course, if you want to accomplish, what you need to academically, most times sleep sometimes suffer, right? We have lack of time, right? Of course, most times students say, I don't have enough time. I'm doing at least 5 courses per semester. I don't have enough time to of course, and we will get into that shortly. I don't have enough time. And of course, we have involvement, of course, in drugs, from, of course, clinical as well, seeing that, yes, of course, there are some drugs that would assist persons in time when they are stressed out, but on the other end, we have persons who are really affected by it. And of course, while it may work well for some persons, it may actually cause some persons to be hospitalized, and of course, precipitate, of course, a mental health disorder, right? So let's move on. So what happens when we are stressed, right? The thing about it is that when we are highly stressed, our body has these reactions. And if we are continuously stressed, and if there is no avenues by which we can deal with this stress, right, our body would eventually go from, going through this everyday stress to eventually develop a disorder, right? So something like diabetes and high blood pressure can come about. I know earlier on, Ms. Graham gave the analogy of the pathway, the grass and the pathway. Think about it that way. So if you're always stressed, you're stressed out with your academics, you're having a poor sleep pattern, you're socially distant because of the pandemic, so you're not getting to interact with others, right? Your body is going to react by releasing certain chemicals into your bloodstream, cortisol and adrenaline, and if this is constantly released into your bloodstream without ways of course, minimizing it or reducing it, you are eventually going to create a pathway in the brain that is going to eventually cause a disorder to develop. I know earlier on Scott would have mentioned why when persons are stressed that their immune system goes down. That is exactly the reason why this happens. So some of the things we would see when you're stressed, you have increased heart rate, rapid breathing. Some persons might even have a diarrhea, difficulty sleeping, difficulty concentrating. Some persons may be very rebellious. Some persons may withdraw, and of course, we have mood swings, right? So what are some things that we can do to help us cope during high stress times? It's very important. As I would have just said, when we are stressed, our body releases these chemicals into our blood. And eventually, as this continues to happen, and we don't seek ways to minimize or to reduce it by releasing some healthy hormones, like, of course, the endorphins and the dopamine and stuff like that, we can create problems in our lives, right? And of course, we can cause both mental and physical illnesses to develop in the body, right? So we want to do things such as deep breathing exercises, right? We want to engage in these exercises. And as Salma would have shared earlier, of course, seeing a psychologist or seeing someone at the clinic in UWI can of course help you develop these healthy coping mechanisms. We have exercising, all right, being able to recreate and be outside, that is very important. I know Ms. Graham would have spoken earlier on about our thoughts, right? So we have to become aware of our thoughts, because guess what? Our body cannot distinguish whether we are stressed out over a financial situation or a relationship, or whether or not we are stressed out because we are somebody is trying to rob us. What tends to happen is our body reacts and releases these chemicals regardless, right? Similarly, if you are sitting down and you're pondering something negative, your body also releases those chemicals that can become detrimental to your mental and your physical health, right? So we want to have those positive thoughts, right? You do not want to dwell on any mistakes or your weaknesses, right? But think about the accomplishments that you would have had. So if you didn't get that A grade that you were hoping to get, and maybe you would have done, you would have done better in times before, think about that and of course work toward that, right? Of course, I know it can be very stressful as students. Of course, if you have a lot of courses that you are doing, right? But try your best to prepare for your exam, whether it's working in a group, online study group, or whatever mechanism that you may find that may work for you around now. I mean, of course, I'm saying these things, but we are living in a real world, and these things may not be ideal, but do what works for you, right? Try not to be last minute, because when you're doing things last minute, of course, that is when you feel more anxious, right? And of course, if you're anxious, we have that adrenaline in your system. The longer that adrenaline stays there, it produces all these symptoms. Your heart racing, you can't concentrate, your sleep being affected, right? So it's like a ripple effect. And do something nice for yourself or someone. What that does, that helps you to take your mind off of your own issues, right? And what I really admire from what I would have heard here so far, at least from some of the facilitators, and to get involved in things, get involved and share your time, advocate for things that will help you take your mind off of your own stressors. Journaling also assists as well, right? For those who are into writing, and of course, talking to someone, going back to the point that was shared by Selma, is very important, right? So that is all I have to share for this evening, at least in this segment, right? We want to take care of our mental health. What I always tell people is your mental health is just as important as your physical health. We are so free to tell persons, I have a headache right now, I have a belly ache, my leg is hurting. But how often do we really tell persons, I am not feeling well mentally, my mental health is being affected? We easily tell persons when our physical health is affected. But let us change the conversation. Let's tell people when we are not feeling well mentally. Let's tell persons, I'm having a really hard time coping right now. I'm really having a hard time concentrating right now, so that we can help break that stigma and that negative connotation toward mental health and, of course, mental health disorders. So thank you once again. And, of course, I look forward to the discussion later.
Wow, thank you so much, Miss Shallow, for giving us that in-depth explanation of the different things that happens to us when we're stressed, how we can actually cope with our stress. I saw that our chat was blowing up with the different stresses that students face, those stressors that are very real and affect them currently. Finally, we have our final panelist. No, wait, one moment. So I think, yeah, we have actually finished, everyone. Yes, wow, and it's 7:30 p.m. That was the first segment of our World Mental Health Day panel discussion on students' well-being. And before we close off on our live session, I would like to share with you a song that was done by one of our panelists, Emily Bachan. She is very talented. She does many different artistic activities, and I'm very sure that is a way that she uses to cope. So let's enjoy her cover on Human, Christiana Perry. Thank you so much, Emily. So soulful.
Thank you so much.
Wow.
Before you close the live, I'd like to share what that song means to me.
Sure.
So As you know, it says human, right? And we humans take for granted that you have a limit, right? And you are meant to have bad days and you are meant to have good days. And the only time you know when you're truly happy is if you experience all the emotions, and that is what makes you human, right? I just wanted to share that. And of course, before we close the live, I want to share that music has helped me cope with my stress. And I think it is so important for persons to understand the beauty of what music could do. And I mean, there are tons of genres that you can pick from. I mean, I'm not saying it would work for you, but I'm telling you personally, music is my world, and it has always been my go-to for anything, whether I'm feeling down, even if I'm feeling good, it motivates me to continue to do what I have to do on a daily basis. If I don't play music, if I don't sing, something wrong with me, something clearly wrong. There can't be a day I go without it. I have to have it in my life. And I just wanted to share that it can change the ability of how you perceive time, because imagine, for instance, if your parents ask you to go do a bunch of chores and it's going to take you some time. I think that when you listen to music, you're having fun, you're dancing, you're doing your thing, and that time just fly. As you blink your eye and be like, hey, well, I'm done, right? So it really helps, and it makes you actually a better communicator. I wanted to add that point because I think that through song, you can actually express how you feel to one another via song, and lyrics are so powerful, like the metaphors they have in there. It's really mind-blowing to me, and I'm, as a songwriter, developing my own stuff soon to be released. It's a really amazing journey, and I think that for instance, if you know, and this might sound very immature and childish, but like, you know, those who get into relationships, and you know, if you don't know how to express it to the other partner, find a song, right? Find a song and share it with the person, and they might be like, wow.
I just want to say, Emily, no, it's not. It's so not childish. And you know,
okay,
actually, even if it was, it is actually, but it's not a bad thing. It's not something to be frowned upon.
Exactly. Yeah, so I really think that people could use music as an instrument to, you know, convey their messages as well. And that is psychology right there, you know, like how the mind works, right? And I want to also bring to the attention when coming to persons that are, you know, suffering from mental disorders, or they have seizures, or like, let's say, Parkinson's disease and stuff like that. Music actually helps them. It's something that they use in when they are diagnosed as a form of treatment, and I think that it really helps some patients, right? And it helps with remembering memories, right? So one last thing for the students, I think that, let's say, okay, for me, I just listen to soca. Right, I love my culture in Trinidad and Tobago, and I listen to soca while I'm studying because it just has this fast pace, you know, like, and it helps stimulate my mind to remember what I'm reading. Right, I know it wouldn't work for everybody. Some people like very slow music, like classical. I sometimes do that too. It all depends. Yeah, and you know, you could use it while you're studying, and when you know you in the exam room, or you're doing your coursework, since we are online. You know, you could put it back on in your head. Like, you don't necessarily have to play the music, you could hum it, and sometimes it helps bring back the memories, right? Because it has a linkage, right? And it honestly is phenomenal. So those are some things that you can try. I think music is a really integral part of my life, and the fact that Dosha just shared my little cover there, I just wanted to share this with the students. Yes.
Wow, thank you so much, Emily, and you're definitely correct. That's actually what I teach students in terms of when they don't feel like studying, put on some music, it will get you in the mood, you know. pairing music with things that we don't like to do really changes our mindset towards it, and really, as you said, it passes time really quickly. So I'm really grateful that you share that with us. And before we actually close off our live, which will bring us into our next discussion, we have this poem by Jabari Superville. He is actually a student of UWI who is involved in IVCF as well. And he also works with us at Survival Scholars, and he's very passionate about poetry and expressing himself through this medium. So do enjoy, and it's a topic that all of us can relate with. Yeah.
I used to think that being older was the answer to everything. That increase in age automatically equaled increase in happiness. But that's not necessarily the case. From the teenage hallway, adulthood seemed like the biggest window with the brightest sun and the clearest sky. A space where you and your dreams are face to face and everything just falls right into place. I stared at that window, blinding myself beneath that bright sun, tattooing expectations of my expected manifestations into my skull until my bones felt heavy with impatience. I couldn't wait to be 20-something, to finally arrive at that window, open it, breathe that air of grown until my lungs burst, dance on every leaf until my toes hurt, fruit my talon dry until I became dirt once again. I was ready. So I ran to that window, barefoot and busy, flung it open so the world could see me, and jumped. Waiting for the solid roots of the lessons I learned in my youth to cushion me, but now I'm 20-something. And life is not that window and big bright sun. I find myself losing myself with each turn of that sun, and someday I hope I can get off this mattress and do something worthwhile, but nothing seems to live up to what I promised myself. Maybe I jumped too soon. Maybe I shouldn't have jumped at all. The days seem to be eating each other away, as if in a rush to fulfill their purpose. Must be nice. And every night just rolls on carelessly, the moon staring right back at me like I'm some kind of force-ripe mango. Too much too soon. Truth be told, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm hoping time will tell, cause that's what everybody tells me, but my faith has never been lower and my progress has never been slower. Are you supposed to cry often when you're 20-something? Maybe I'm not 20-something yet. I don't see 20-somethings crying on the internet. Friends get older and smarter than you. And family members keep waiting on you to grow into everything they've put into you. All the money, all the judgment, all the time. But hey, God is good all the time. Right? I guess what I'm trying to say is, I don't have it all figured out. And that scares me, because I thought I would by now. From the ground outside, that teenage hallway looks pretty nice right now. Safe, warm, easy. Maybe life isn't meant for window jumping. To everyone out there, God bless you and your 20-somethings.
Tosha, you were muted.
Muted. Yeah. Wow. I don't know what you all thought about that, but to me, that was so relatable. You know,
Yes.
especially at our age, most of us are 20-something, early 20s, late 20s, around that age, whatever age. I believe that all of us could have related to some aspect of this poem because we feel those pressures of society, we feel those pressures of family. We ourselves put that pressure on ourselves. We are so excited to get older. We think that, oh my gosh, you're getting older, that means things are going to get better. No one told us, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm really, really grateful that Jabari created that piece to embody, you know, what we feel, especially as students on our journey. And I'm seeing everyone from, well, the comments, that was amazing, powerful. Yeah, most definitely, most definitely. So I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for all our viewers on Facebook who joined us this evening on World Mental Health Day for our Student Wellbeing edition. And we hope that the valuable information that was shared this evening was of great help and support for you on your journey of growth and in life. Definitely do feel free to look over the session to get the resources, and I will also post it in the chat so that you can get the help that you need to continue growing in your resilience and strength. Any final closing comments from our panelists or anyone? No? All right.
Of course.
Just wanted to say, I was looking for my mic as well. You can go ahead.
Thank you, Emily. I just would like to reiterate that you're not alone. I know as students sometimes we may think that we are alone and no one could really, you know, understand the way that we feel, especially in the myriad of situations and how they may present itself, you know, especially when we juggle not just our academic life, but our social life and sometimes our spirituality and the questions and the family and all these different things happen. And you notice it happens all at once, right? But just to remind you that you're not alone. From the time you speak, you would hear someone say, oh, that happens to me as well. I know what you're saying. Yeah, so you're not alone, and reach out. If you have to find that one person, you know, that one person that you can trust, reach out to that person. Yeah.
And just before we end, I'd like to close that, yeah, we do share lots of things that are universal when it comes to mental health. And this is one of my quotes: mental illness does not need to be physically seen to understand that it is a psychological wound amongst us. And thank you so much for having me.
Wow, thank you so much again. So thank you to all our Facebook viewers, and we definitely hope that the information shared was of great benefit to you. Take care. Good night.